Welcome to the Kyle Art Show. I'm joined again by my lovely stream partner, Alan Bathurst.
Hello.
And today we are drawing someone's OC. So as if you're not already aware, as a result of my Kickstarter success, people who donated a certain amount to my Of This Light comic Kickstarter got to do a stream request of something I draw. And in this case, it is Plotholt C's lovely character NT that I know nothing about. Yeah, this is all from this is some of the reference images C gave me.
Gotcha.
C specifically mentioned there was no color reference, so I'm gonna have fun with that.
Very much so.
Let's see. Apparently NT is
You certainly did.
C says NT is one of the two mains from Starchild. I gave Kyle the safe for work references. Good to know. And actually, I was told specifically no color recommendations yet, and so I immediately said I'd go with the JoJo color scheme. And I'm almost wondering if C would kill me if I just immediately went JoJo pose. Oh, hey, Orson. Glad you can make it.
Hello, Orson.
So, typically with the JoJo pose, what you do is you just kind of close your eyes and okay, there's a line. There's my pose. I have to make a pose from that line.
And then you just kind of roll the dice on where the limbs go.
I definitely, actually, I think this pose, that line, god dang it. I always kind of hate how well the just draw a random line and that's your pose thing works.
I should try that sometime, honestly, if it's that effective for you.
It's really good, actually. So, I mean, like, it doesn't always make stuff, like, usable for, like, a comic, but for, like, one-shot illustrations, it really gets,
May have gone directly from coming home after work to sleeping to here.
That's legit. I have actually, like, mood, there are a number of times where I've just sort of given an air of professionalism when really I, like, after getting home from work, I just go straight to, like, I go straight to nap and then see that it's like 3:30 and you're going to be here any moment, throw myself out of bed, get a shower, and like open up the door when you knock as if nothing happened.
See, the problem is I had been intending to whoa, pardon me. The problem is I'd only been intending to sleep for an hour. There's definitely more than an hour between when I get home from work and when I come here.
Oh yeah, I naps sometimes happen against
our will.
Yes, as I've like sometimes when a break is needed, you have to take the break or the break will take you.
Yeah, that's actually, you know what? I want that framed. That's so true. It's
been a very relevant phrase for me lately.
Sometimes you have to take the break, or the break will take you.
I was actually I had a meeting with my therapist for the first time in a couple of like in almost a month. I was already like scaling back appointments, but doubly so since COVID happened. But I talked about my business plans going forward and like what I was doing to try and stay mentally healthy throughout the amount of work I'm throwing myself in. Let's see. And one thing he said that I thought was actually like really like not just wise, but like a great freaking idea was to include steps to both protect my mental health and also like respond to bad dips in mental health as part of my business plan. Like the same way I would plan for financial troubles or the deadlines not being met. Like I would have a plan for, okay, I am feeling way too burnt out, and like both how to a plan to stop myself from getting burnt out before it actually happens, because like burnout can freaking kill me. Like in the stage I'm at right now, I need to be able to consistently be making content. So first off, to identify and prevent burnout from happening, and also a plan in case burnout does happen of how to respond to it. Because certainly when I'm like down spiraling because of burnout, it's almost impossible for me to remember all of my like ways to remember it's going to be okay.
Big mood.
Makes it hard to actually solve the burnout. What I think is kind of good advice in general was to set up a sort of like King's Council of like people I can of my support group, you know, people I go to in certain situations. But like, okay, you know, if I'm having financial issues, like this is the person I talk to for advice on that. If I'm having mental health issues, this is the person I talk to about that. And like, one idea is just having someone who can check in on me every month and be like, are you feeling burnt out? Yes, no. How do you know you are feeling burnt out or not? And then like, what's your next plan for a break? Because like, if I'm getting better and better at the sketch is actually not great. I'm getting better at like giving myself actual time off, not just from my day job, but from this job as well.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, in a project I'm now dabbling with a lot heavierly. Wow.
You know what? Just roll with it.
The project I'm dabbling with a bit heavier than I had been previously.
More heavily than you had been previously. We got there in the end.
Whatever. It's got a much bigger fantasy world, and so I'm going to need to be thinking about things like, you know, what do characters of, you know, different cultures wear? Because I certainly have, like, the main characters' designs, well, like, the main couple of characters' designs down, but, like, when I think about, you know, the species that don't fully play in the same spotlight, like, I'm thinking about them a bit more, and some of the, like... I mean, for simplicity's sake, the like main cast is very like JRPG, and there's, you know, a big mix of, you know, races and classes and whatnot, and so I've got like the main you're like main character for, but there's the rest of the party to fill out as well, and trying to think about their cultures and whatnot. I'm trying to make it very. I want both the party and the like culture shown to be very multicultural, both in a like they are representative of like there's analogs to several cultures, but I always want it to be in like a way you don't quite expect. Like cultures developed along similar lines to our world, but for different reasons in different places. And certainly, like, weird mixes and matches of certain aspects.
Always fun. Always fun to put some real-world inspirations in a bag and give that bag a shake.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let's see if it helps. The thing that looks like a headband on her forehead is actually the top part of her head. It is metal. She has multiple brain surgeries, cybernetic enhancements over the years. The horizontal line on her face is also a remaining metallic seam. Oh, that's cool. I did not pick that up.
Okay.
I see what you mean.
Okay.
That's cool.
Okay. Neat.
We incorporate that line back in the sketch because I thought it was a guiding layer or a guiding line at first. Aranoki says, I'm playing a Pew Pew murder video game while I watch the stream. At the end of a match, the announcer is asking me if I threw enough grenades. You did not throw enough grenades. I'll tell you now, you did not throw enough. Always more grenades.
Mordecai.
Oops.
Did the other team tell you quit it with the grenades? Then you did not throw enough grenades.
I guess one cultural thing I'm trying to do in the story I was just referring to that I find kind of interesting is the main character is not human, but there are humans in the world, which is something I always sort of wanted to pull off. Like, there's always been like a sci-fi prompt I've wanted to do, but I haven't quite figured out how to do it right yet. And so this is kind of a light version of that, but a fantasy world where humans exist, but they are not the most important species, nor are they the main characters or the main focus of the story. And so I've managed to do one aspect in that I'd say the two biggest forces in the world right now are human empires.
Okay.
But it's one of those that they're doing their whole human empire fighty business, and there's a whole bunch of other cultures and species like around that are also very developed and also like have their own very strong culture, but they're just starting to kind of get caught in the crossfire of all the human colonialism and war. Hey Kyle, do you want to make an arm the biggest part of this?
Yes.
This composition?
Yes, you do. Arms are important.
They are super
We use
important.
them to hold our pizza.
Yeah, but they're hard to draw.
Are you saying things that are hard to draw are not worth drawing?
Oh, that's not what I was saying at all. I was saying that things that are hard to draw are hard to draw, and I am going to continue complaining about them, and you can't stop me.
I have no intention of stopping you.
Okay, I actually really like how this pose is coming together now. That
it's
foreshortening really actually did
Yeah.
something.
It's doing something. It can be a bit of a pickle when a given work makes its least interesting character into its main character.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually a problem I grew to have with a comic called Scud the Disposable Assassin. Very, very good comic, recommend it. Long story, very short, about a future where you can hire a robot assassin out of a vending machine.
Right.
You just put the money in, you tell it its target and relevant information, it will go do the job and then self-destruct. And the title character is one of these robots, learns that he will self-destruct upon completion of his job, realizes he doesn't want to do that, and decides to just not kill his target, and then becomes a freelance assassin because he only self-destructs if he kills the target he was originally assigned. And decides to get into just freelance assassination because, well, that's something he already knows how to do. Being that it's what he was literally programmed for. Anyway, Scud, unfortunately, kind of becomes the least interesting character in his own story. For various reasons that I won't get into right now. Some of which were the author's real-life issues just kind of bleeding into the comic and making it a bit of a mess. But they introduce a side character, I want to say about a third of the way into the story, if not halfway, called Drywall. And Drywall is a super interesting character to the point where I wished he had been the main character, and kept consistently wishing they had made him the main character, because he kept being more interesting, and every time we caught back up with him, the journeys he had been on seemed more interesting than what was happening to Scud.
Irenoki asks, he did a Dave Sim, and I don't know who that is.
He did not do a Dave Sim. So, catching up on that, Dave Sim was a independent comics darling who did a fantasy series called Cerebus the Aardvark, which is very gorgeously illustrated. Unfortunately, Dave went through a very messy divorce during the course of the comic.
Oh no.
Did not process it well, incorporated it into his comic, and, well, a lot of people don't really talk about the comic anymore because he ended up kind of tanking his own comic by turning it from an interesting fantasy story about an immortal animal creature, guy, into just weird, long-winded essays about how much he hated women.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so, like, at best, you'll find people that are like, yeah, no, definitely read it, but stop around this volume and I'll just tell you how it ends. Because, boy, those later volumes get rough. Like, let me put it this way, a lot of comic shops, even a lot of really good comic shops, aren't exactly, like, they're trying, but not exactly necessarily paragons of gender equality. And even a lot of comic shops will just flat out refuse to stock some of the later volumes because they get that bad.
Oh no.
Yeah. Ooh, Dave Sim. But no, he did not pull a Dave Sim. In fact, I would argue that Rob Schraub, the guy who did Scud, did the opposite of a Dave Sim. the other direction just as bad, where he went through a really rough breakup during the course of the comic, and the narrative very abruptly shifts to a very overwrought lost love romance drama thing that probably could have worked if they had established it at the beginning, but knowing the backdrop for it and how suddenly it enters the story and how it completely changes the tone of the entire thing, it just feels intrusive in a way that, like, it feels like you're suddenly, like, looking at someone's private life and you didn't ask to, and you're kind of uncomfortable, and you're like, dude, you're oversharing. Please just take me back to your comic about Robot Deadpool. Like, I would like to hear about your relationship issues, but not within this comic. Like, please just talk to me about it.
Mm-hmm. That kind of interesting, because, like, I guess the difference between what I do and that, because, like, my stories always sort of, like, come from frankly, my weird relationship issues.
Yeah.
But, like, that's always what's sort of promised. Like,
yeah. Like, we know what we're getting into, and also, like, when I say overwrought, like, trust me, you don't go nearly as hard as this story did.
Like, I find it perfectly okay for people to reference their, like, relationship trauma and stuff through their artwork.
Yeah.
I do think that, like, for example, if something else were to, like, if I had to deal with some other kind of, like, weird emotional tragedy, it probably wouldn't make its way into OTL in the same way, because, like, I know the themes OTL is about, and those are already planned and written and whatnot, and, like, it's not going to change in the, like, don't get me wrong, new stuff that happens to me, both good and bad, does inform how I execute the current, the remaining plan for OTL, but, like, it's not going to change what it is.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I have no fault with the idea of someone, like, incorporating their relationship and their issues into their comic. Obviously, I love your stuff, and that's, a frequent theme of yours. The issue was with how it completely hijacked the comic in this specific instance, and, like,
hijacked a comic that wasn't about that.
Yeah.
Plotted C says, "Ooh, I walked away while listening and came back, and there's some great motion lines." And yeah, I'll probably bring the lines back, but they were more perspective lines because I tried to make it a little more top down. I mean, we've talked many times on the show about the sort of respect that goes into just admitting you're doing what you want rather than trying to justify what you're doing as anything other than self-indulgence.
Like, yes, I could do that, but that's not what I'm doing, and that is not what I want to do.
Did you ever watch the Death Note American live-action movie?
Yes.
Oh, boy, that was...
And, boy, I was keeping track of the things they got wrong about Seattle.
Yeah. Right off the bat, it just immediately goes straight to, like, Midwest East Coast rain instead of Seattle rain.
Not only that, but the moment everyone notices it's raining, they panic and go indoors.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, when it starts raining here, people go, oh, is it raining? And shrug and continue their conversation. They might, like, kind of start scooting towards the door, but, like, it'll be very casual.
Maybe a sigh of frustration.
Yeah, or just like, let's mosey on under this awning.
Did not like their L as necessarily exactly L, but I liked the complete reimagining of the character as that. Like,
yeah. No, it worked.
It wasn't accurate to the L we know, but it was a good character.
But
I thought
there are also other things that aren't as forgivable, such as...
Oh, don't get me wrong. Most of the movie was a trash fire inside another trash fire.
Let's see, I do kind of want to visit the timeline where Del Toro actually got to make an Evangelion movie.
Oh wow, that'd be wild.
The timeline that never got Pacific Rim, but I want to see what it would have been like.
I mean, in some ways, isn't it just Pacific Rim?
Well, yes, because Pacific Rim was Del Toro being like, "Oh, I'm not allowed to make an Evangelion movie. Oh. Fine, I'll make something kind of like one." Because when you tell Del Toro you can't make that, he says, "Fine, I'll make something sort of like it. Probably better." Slightly dramatic, but you know what? I'll defend it.
I still want a good, well, like, there hasn't been a bad one yet, but, like, a good Sandman movie adaptation would be so awesome. Dream is settled enough that you wouldn't even necessarily need a good actor.
True.
It'd be more in the direction.
Although, speaking of actors that were thought to be bad, but turned out to just had some bad roles for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't laugh.
Yeah.
I think Keanu Reeves might actually make a good Dream.
You know, believe it or not, I was thinking that too.
Yeah. No, I think he's got the chops for it.
Mm-hmm. I would say that a lot of the things people complained and made fun of Keanu Reeves about were true. It's just at some point recently he made a shift from, like, he started owning it and doing it more confidently.
Yes.
Because, like, I'd say John Wick has the same sort of, like, emotionless, non-reactive problems that, say, Neo had.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more confidence behind John Wick than Neo.
Yes. But I get what they're going for with Neo. Like, he's supposed to be a little bit of a blank slate.
Yeah. And, like, I'm not even going to say Neo's, like, the worst offender as far as what people think of with Keanu Reeves. But, like...
That's Don John from the adaptation of Much Ado About Nothing. He was in. He was badly suited to that role.
Mm-hmm.
Shakespeare villains need to be hammy, and he was not playing it with an ounce of ham.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Stewart as Destiny.
Ooh, yep.
Yes.
Okay, stop me if I'm wrong. Ian McKellen's still alive, right?
Yes.
Okay, Ian McKellen could also be a good Destiny.
He could. He could also be a good Destiny. An aged and distinguished actor.
Mm-hmm.
That could pull off just wearing a robe and holding a giant book.
Let's see who else we got. Who would you say would make a good Death? Because Death's just as important.
Actually, okay. Slightly odd choice.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead, based on her performances as Ramona Flowers and as Huntress in Birds of Prey.
You know what? I haven't seen Birds of Prey yet, but yeah, the Ramona Flowers actress, I could definitely see that.
She can very much pull off that, like, kind of goofy but knows when it's time to take it seriously vibe that you need for a character like that.
Mm-hmm.
And facially, I think she fits it a little bit too.
Agreed.
Kind of put Mary Elizabeth Winstead in goth makeup and you're there.
Speaking of Birds of Prey, though...
oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah! No, I know exactly where you're going
Delirium?
with this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Margot Robbie is
Delirium, yeah.
Based on her performance as Harley, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. If nothing else, we know she can absolutely pull it off visually.
Uh-huh.
Because, like, what is that version of Harley if not basically...
Delirium. A Delirium with a full head of hair.
Delirium with a full head of hair. Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Having, like, some random bits of her head shaved at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I have no idea what she's like as an actress. But there is, there are a couple of plus-size photographers, Substantia Jones and Angelina Duplessis. Both of them, with a little bit of makeup, could kind of fit Despair. Like, they've got close proportions to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, like I said, I have no idea what their acting chops are like because they're photographers, not actors, but there's a possibility.
I would also say that another thing about Despair is their role in the story is usually pretty limited, so wouldn't need, like, a seasoned actor.
CG Despair as well.
I mean, I'd rather give it a person, but...
Yeah, exactly, because practical effects are going to look great, but...
the point is, I don't think you necessarily need a professional actor either.
True, you just need someone to deliver a few lines, because also, like, Despair doesn't even usually say much.
Yeah.
They're usually just kind of there.
They're kind of just, someone for Desire to monologue at.
Yeah.
So I'm in focus mode because there's only because of the time crunch.
And I don't have anything interesting to say right now.
I guess I'll talk about how I'm doing my shading. I've been studying persona portraits because I think they have some of the, like, cleanest like JRPG portrait art out there. And I really like clean-looking art, like, if that makes sense. Like, I've always...
You like crisp edges and solid shapes.
Yeah. Not to say I don't appreciate, like, grungy art styles. It's just not my personal aesthetic. And so when I look at reference, I frequently look to things like Persona, where I just think the character art is, like, don't get me wrong, they're not like the best character designs out there, but they are very crisp all the time. And so I've sort of tried to take lessons from how they do their shading, because they managed to do it with pretty much just one shading, or really two shading layers. Tends to be a one shadow layer throughout most of it, and then just a dark gradient that goes down lower through the body. And I think it's very effective. The reason why I felt the need to specify that is I know there's a lot of gatekeeping surrounding like grungier art styles.
There can be.
Ironoki says, I like clean art a lot too, but I'm addicted to pencil scribbling. And Bottled Sea says, there's gatekeeping around art in general. Yeah.
Isn't it stressful doing marker work? What if you make a mistake? To which I answer, you don't. To which the real answer is, you learn how to manipulate your mistakes and make them seem intentional.
Once it gets to critique, it's all intentional. Everything's on purpose, so to speak. 4 minutes left. Gotta shade faster.
Gotta go fast.
Oh, we're about out of time here.
Oh no. But you know what? It's looking good.
Yeah, I think it turned out alright.
I believe it does. I believe it has.
Alright. Oh.
This boy's looking okay.
Yeah.
Holding up in front of your face.
It looks great from this side. It looks great from that side too.
Yeah.
Arguably better. But yeah, I think it turned out awesome.
Yeah, no, it's looking good.
Thanks for watching. You know how it goes. Like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed. Or if you didn't enjoy. I need constant attention. I post gameplay videos every Thursday and art videos every Friday. You can also catch me on Twitch at 7 p.m. PST on Thursday or 4 p.m. on Saturdays. Thanks to my patrons for encouraging me to do all the crazy things I do, especially Pottled Sea, Chocolate Bliss, Abnerdoodle, aka Lauren, and Tia. You can join them at patreon.com/knewbridge. Toodles!